Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 14th episode of the live interview series SSI Live Cosmic Conversations. My name is Nia, and as one of the science communication interns here at Cal Academy, I will be your host for today. In this series, we will interview a different member of our SSI cohort every episode. SSI stands for Summer Systematics Institute, a research experience for undergrads funded by the National Science Foundation. All of the interns Sophia and I will be interviewing work directly with curators or researchers on research projects on all sorts of topics, from people to arachnids to plants. Feel free to leave any questions you have in the chat and we will get to them at the end of the episode. Today I'll be talking to Keily. Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Keily Peralta, and I'm a botany intern at SSI this year, and I'm working with Dr. Isaac Mark in identifying a new species in Asteraceae, which is the sunflower family. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's get into our first question. Can you tell us about botany and what got you interested in it?
Well, botany is the study of plants. So if you're looking at a plant and wondering what it is, if you look at a plant and wonder what its name is, you're probably botanizing yourself, even though you don't have a formal education, but you're definitely doing it. So I feel like it's universal. Everybody does botany. Yeah. And what was the second
What
question?
got you interested?
I guess what got me interested was I grew up with a mom that had very, very bad arthritis, and she would bring home a lot of cure-alls. A lot of the times they were herbal. Most of the time they were herbal. Yeah, so I don't know. Like my mom would just always be bringing home like chamomile or like cat's claw, like things like that, and I would always be wondering, well, what is that, and what does it do for you, and why are you like buying this expensive stuff? Do you get me? And most often than not, it was always plants. Like it would always be like some herbal remedy. Like, yeah, when it comes down to it, and that just got me so curious because I didn't start off being like interested in botany until I think high school is when I started noticing what's my mom's things, like what is she taking, like what's going on, right? And that's when I started like actually being like, okay, these are the plants that we see, but they actually have uses for us that are very, very, very important to be able to understand and know.
So yeah, that's cool. Do you like want to learn more about medicinal uses for plants?
Yeah, actually, that's like my concentration in school right now. So my major is plant science, like I'm a botanist, but my whole concentration on what I like to do in plant science is actually medicinal botany.
Oh,
so
wow.
I actually love ethnobotany, and that's what I study in school. So yeah.
Do you have like, are your hobbies like working with plants like outside of school and like work?
Like, what are my hobbies?
Yeah, like do you like garden or like do things like that?
Yeah. Girl, of course I garden. Like, of course I garden. Yes, I love plants, but my favorite things to like garden are actually medicinal plants. When it comes back to it, like echinacea or stuff like that, like coneflowers and elderflower. I just love wildflowers that are medicinal. Like they're pretty, and then you can use them too. Like, wow, that just blows my mind.
Perfect. So what does it mean to be a scientist, and what like inspired you to pursue science outside of like your just general interest in botany?
I think what it means to be a scientist is always asking why. Yeah, I feel like everybody's a scientist. I'm not gonna lie, like you're bound to ask why eventually, even if you don't care about most things, which is unusual for a person. But yeah, like I don't know. I feel like science is just like having that curiosity in you and being like, okay, I want to know why and what this is doing here, and just like why is the really, really big question. And if you can ask that, then I feel like you're a scientist. You kind of are, like.
Exactly. So how did you like want to pursue it as a career instead of just like your mom looking at your mom's plants that she brought home?
Well, I started realizing there's so many like different herbal remedies that my mom is using, right? And maybe I can be somebody that can discover a new herbal remedy that somebody like my mom can use, and it can help somebody like them. So I think it kind of stemmed from like wanting to help my mom at the end of the day, and like wanting to like give her something else that she can use for like either her inflammation or her pain, like anything. Do you get me? So yeah, that was just think that was maybe it.
That's a beautiful reason.
Yeah.
Like helping your mom and hopefully helping a lot of other people
Yeah.
feel better. Yeah, I definitely get that. So can you tell us about your research project?
Well, my research project right now is, we hope to describe a new species of sunflower. It's not exactly a sunflower, but it's in the family of sunflowers. We don't know exactly what it is right now. But basically, there's this little plant that looks like a cotton ball, and it popped up like on a mountain in Big Bend Park in Texas, at the tippy top of the mountain where it's like super, super hot and everything.
Mm-hmm.
A botanist was walking by there that my mentor works with, and she was like, "What is this?" Because she saw this little plant that looked like a cotton ball just growing, and it was so fuzzy you can't even see the leaves, you can't even see the flowers. Just looks like a cotton ball, super small. And we were all wondering, what is this? So she sent it to my mentor, and I did DNA analysis of it, and I did extractions of it with the samples that was sent to my mentor, and we realized that it was in the sunflower family, and it's possibly a new species to describe. And it's so cool because it looks nothing like a sunflower.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it literally just looks like a cotton ball. Like, you can't even see the flowers that it has on it. Yeah,
Like,
and it ended up.
Does it have flowers?
Yeah, it has flowers.
And do they look anything like?
Absolutely not. They don't look anything like any type of sunflower or even like a dandelion, because dandelions are also in the sunflower family, which we all know because we love to blow on them to make a wish. Yeah, it doesn't look anything like them. It doesn't even look like a flower.
Wow.
It just looks like
It's just a cotton ball.
Yeah, it just looks like a cotton ball. I'm like, oh my god.
So what are some of the challenges that you're facing with your research project?
I would say one of the challenges that we face is to be able to know what something that you don't know is, like a new plant, right? For example, that nobody has seen before. Most often than not, you do DNA extractions on it, and you see where it falls out and what it could be. So we did DNA extractions on this thing that looked like a cotton ball, this random plant, nobody knew what it was, that looked like a cotton ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we did that, it tells you what it's related to, right? But it doesn't tell you what it is because nobody knows what it is. Yeah, right? So it told us that it was related to the sunflower family, and from that we made like a lot of hypotheses on what it could be related to in the sunflower family. Like, what other species could be its sisters or its cousins, you get me, type of thing. And from there, I did DNA extractions on things that it could be closely related to. A lot of the things that it could be closely related to, the samples that we had were from like the 1920s, 1910. Like, yeah, people collecting it and then leaving it in our herbarium, and that's what we had to work with. So I had to get DNA from these close relatives that are so old and desiccated. I didn't know how to do it. And a lot of the times it didn't work. Like, when I extracted DNA from like one of the close relatives of what we think this plant could be, it literally didn't come out. Nothing worked. Like, it wasn't working. Like, it was terrible.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, and I had to do like 6 different experiments or 4 different experiments and mess around with like the different reagents that I was using, or like the different compounds that I was using, or how I was grinding up the sample of leaf that I was using to make a DNA extraction. Yeah, like things like that. And then I had to just see what worked for me, but it took a little bit of time.
But you figured it out.
Yeah, I figured it out, but it was a lot of trial and error. So I would say that's like the hardest part of science, I guess. Going through so much trial and error and thinking, will this ever work out? Or will I be stuck here going through trial and error like for a while? I don't know.
Yeah, that's like the plight of all scientists.
Yeah.
And you just keep trying until something works. So what are like some other projects that you worked on, like maybe in school, like in the past, and how do they compare to the one that you're working on right now?
Yeah, so even though my concentration is medicinal plants, I love taxonomy, like the naming of plants and just knowing where they fall out and who are the relatives, and just giving them a name. That's my favorite, because if you can't name it, then you can't utilize it, right? Like, you need to know what it is first. That's the fundamental. I took a systematics class in school, and I got really, really into research about palm taxonomy because I'm from Florida. So I literally was like, oh my God, like, what is this? There's so many palms, right? And a lot of them don't have names, or a lot of them are taxonomically confused. So that means that they'll have like names that are not actually what the palm is. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
What do you mean they have names that are actually what it is?
Like, for example, Sorry, this has to do with my research. I didn't
No,
explain.
go ahead.
But yeah, this is like exactly what I did. Like last semester or the last 2 years in my school, what I've been doing is so a lot of palms, because a lot of them look the same. They kind of are names, right? And a lot of the times they name a lot of different species as one species. Yeah, and they lump them all together because they look the same, right? So if you can't really like tell like by morphology or how it looks like this one is this one and this one is that, you end up just naming everything as one thing.
Yeah.
And that's not recognizing the true diversity or what something really is, right? And it doesn't conserve it. Like if you can't name it and you don't know what it is, then how would you know where it is, or if it's rare, or if we still need it, or what it does for us? You can't. Yeah. So I feel like naming is so important, right? And what we basically did was that there was 2 populations of sable, which is a type of palm tree that is dwarf, so it's very, very small, miniature, right? And it has a costa palmate leaf. So that means that costa palmate is the palm of your hands. The leaves look like the palm of your hands. Yeah. And all you can see when it comes out of the ground is just the leaves coming out. So it's these long leaves, and they just have like the ends of them have leaves that look like the palm of your hands. It's so cool, right? And it's very, very small plant. Well, this plant, there's 2 populations of it, right? And there's 2 different species of this palm that kind of look the same. And because of that, they were named the same for so long, even though one is completely genetically distinct. Like when you do a phylogeny of it, yeah, completely genetically distinct. But they were naming all of them as the same thing. Yeah, so I basically just went back and I was like, hey, I think we should update the naming with a grad student that I was working with, which her name is Eris Greenidge. She is amazing. Yeah, and we went back and we basically were like, these names should be updated because they're not representative of what's really here. Like there's 2 different species and it's been named as one for so long. And we did genetic analysis and we found physical traits that we can use to prove that. And we basically did that. We did an analysis and we did a paper about that, and that was really, really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So like what you're working on now is like kind of similar to what you've been doing.
Literally, that's why I was so excited to get here and be able to do this project, because it's kind of the same thing that I've been doing, but applied to a different group of plants that I know nothing about, which is what I love, because I'm like learning more about plants, but in the way that I'm used to.
Yeah. So do you want to like do this with like medicinal plants, like do taxonomy for that?
That would be great. Like that would be like a great future goal. Like if I can and I can make it like a real life thing. Literally just like describing new species and then going into the medicinal compounds or like their societal values to us would be amazing. Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. So that's all the core questions we have for you today. Are there any questions in the chat, Sophia?
Yes. So there are many. Our first one is from Julia. What's better, plants in Florida, New York, or California?
Florida. What do you mean? Like I was taught to botanize in New York, so like all my systematics and all my naming of plants and stuff, I was taught in New York because that's where I go to school and that's where I learned plant science, right? Like before that, I didn't know anything about plants. So I think the plants in New York are super, super cool. But Florida, it's the biodiversity like hotspot for like any plant. So I feel like it's just so cool. Like you can see the palm trees, you can see just like you can see everything. You can see everything. I'm not even gonna list it. You can just see everything. I love Florida. Yeah.
Nice. So next we have, also from Julia, what's your favorite place to go thrifting in San Francisco?
Stop. This is one of my problems. Like, I'm a serial thrifter, guys. I'm sorry. Honestly, I think my favorite spot that we went to is 2nd Street. Such a good place. Everything is so cheap and it's really, really good. Like they have so many things you should go with. Yeah. But they have a lot of things and I don't know, just great prices and so much variety. And they have so many shoes. I love shoes. They have so many shoes.
Next, what is your favorite non-work related memory of your summer?
I think my favorite non-work related memory is probably when we went camping. Like, I don't, oh no, that's a lie. No, yeah. Okay, I would probably make it like when we went camping, and we did like a botany tour when we went camping. I think it was in Mount Tamaulipas.
Oh, Tamalpais.
Yeah. Sorry, did I say it? I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
Tamalpais.
Tamalpais.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. In Mount Tamalpais, we did a whole botany tour with my mentor. Yeah, and it was so cool because we got to see like Castanea, which is this parasitic plant, which is so pretty and red. We got to see like Manzanita, which is this plant that has like these small little apples that are edible. Super, super cool. Just so many things that I had like never seen before because they're endemic to California and you can't see them anywhere else. Yeah, core memory.
Core memory.
That was core memory. Yeah.
So next, what is a common misconception that exists in botany?
These questions are gonna be a little hard. Honestly, I feel like a common misconception that exists in botany is I can't think of one right now. I'm sorry,
okay.
I started so strong. Like I was like about to say something and then everything erased me.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have an answer for this one right now. But there's a lot. I just can't think of a specific one. Like
maybe we'll come back to it if you think of one.
Yeah.
How is climate change affecting your field? What are the impacts that most people might not think of?
Ooh.
I love this question. Okay, this is literally like a prime question, specifically because the group of plants that I'm working on, the new species that I told you that we're describing that looks like a cotton ball, it looks like a cotton ball because it's adapted to extreme environments that are caused by climate change. Like, yeah, so it's actually really, really, really cool because plants are changing. Plants are literally changing. They're even flowering earlier, right? And everything, which causes pollinator mismatch. So plants are starting to flower earlier because it gets so hot outside. Like in early, like late December already, it'll be getting super, super hot, right? So a lot of these plants will start flowering before their time, which means these pollinators, like bees and stuff, aren't even out yet, right? So there's nothing to pollinate these plants. So they just end up dying and not reproducing. So climate change is really important. A lot of wildflowers and flowering plants will eventually go extinct because they don't have a pollinator there for them because the timing and the seasons are becoming misaligned a little bit. Also, climate change is literally impacting different types of plants. Like a lot of plants in California, because of climate change, they're literally adapting and inhabiting new niches that they generally wouldn't inhabit before.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like, for example, man, I can't think of a specific plant right now too.
It's okay.
But like, there's definitely like, this is the thing, guys. I'm not lying. I swear to God. Oh. For example, like peridily, right? Like in the sunflower family, there's this one species of plant. I'm not aware of its common name.
It's fine.
But because it's a kind of a weird common name, I think it has. But there's this one species of plant which it has literally adapted to live on the sides of cliffs. So it'll be this huge high altitude cliff, super, super huge, literally in Death Valley in California. So it's hot temperatures, like 106, 109. This cliff is huge, right? These plants are not even living in the soil. They're just living on the side of the cliffs. Yeah, and they've adapted their root system to just hang on to the cliffs and just live there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they've done that because at a certain point, things get so hot and the soil conditions they're not great, that you start adapting to be able to live other places, and you do it, and you thrive. Yeah, and I think plants are doing that.
That's good that they're evolving.
Yeah. Bro, imagine they didn't, like. But yeah, I would say that's.
So a couple more questions left. Next one is, knowing you like medicinal plants, what would your dream garden look like?
This person has really good questions. I think if I had a dream garden, I would very much a lot of people don't do, like, a lot of indigenous people in the past, they do medicinal gardens. Like they literally do that. Like they create little plots and it'll just be medicinal plants. And I feel like if I were to ever start mine, which I definitely will whenever I own a house, I would go back and look at how indigenous people have like rearranged their different medicinal plants and stuff and see how they've done it and try to probably replicate that. Because I don't know why, but there's a lot of, well, I do know why. But there's a lot of indigenous knowledge, like as to how you should plant your plants where they can all help each other. For
Oh,
example,
yeah.
yeah, like the three sisters method, where you put like a tomato plant with like a legume plant, right? And then you put like, there's one more, like probably like an herb plant or something like that. And they all grow together and they all benefit themselves because the legumes make nitrogen in the soil that the tomatoes then feed off of. So it's like a great ecosystem. Yeah, you see, like it all like goes in hang. And then if you put basil next to it, then it'll literally create these aromatic compounds that protect the tomato and the legume. So you have like three things that are literally like a perfect community. Do you get me? So yeah, I think I would definitely do something like that, but figure out what's the best relationship of how I should plant my plants when it comes to medicinal ones. Yeah, I think I would do that.
That sounds cool.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think about
Mutualistic
that.
plants.
Yeah, mutualistic plants. Who got that here? But yeah, I would do that.
Next is, what is your dream job?
I think my dream job, if I could do it, it would probably be as a taxonomist for the rest of my life. Like I would just describe new species and mention their uses and then let other people go more deep into it if they want to. But yeah, just describing new plants, like as a taxonomist or a researcher for the rest of my life, I would be so happy doing that. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Next, a note from Julia. Luigi says bye.
Oh, bye, Luigi.
Bye, Luigi.
And then back to the questions. Why should people care more about plants?
I mean, they provide us shelter. They give us oxygen. I would say there's a lot of, well, they don't give us oxygen, but they create oxygen and we breathe it. But I don't know. I feel like people should care about plants because it's all around them and it's a main component. Like, if you know, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like learning about plants is very, very essential. And I feel like everybody should do it to some extent. Because then you'll just know what you can eat around you, what you can and can't touch, where you should go when you go hiking, because the terrain will be better, because some plants have certain root systems. Like, do you get me? Like, you can just make these connections, like in nature, where you're like, okay, like, I know what to do now, because I know how the things around me work. Yeah, and what they are, and how, like, and I'm just, I don't know. I feel like it's super important.
Yeah, definitely.
Or, like, just walking around, like, if you ever go hike or anything, like, poisonous plants are everywhere, low key in some areas. Like just knowing how to identify those, like you should care. Everybody should care. Yeah.
Watch out for poison oak and poison
ivy.
Nice. On sort of that note, what's your favorite plant or tree?
My favorite plant? I don't like trees, guys. Sorry. I'm sorry. I feel like I shouldn't say that, but I really don't like trees, and it's because they're kind of boring. They're not that boring to everybody, but they are to me. But my favorite plant would be the sensitive plant that you touch it and it literally closes up. Mimosa pudica, I think is a scientific name, but I could be wrong. Somebody fact check me for that. Anyways, probably that one. And it's because it's medicinal and it's also like it's reactive. Like you touch it and it literally closes. It's so cool. Yeah.
Cool. Is that what we were talking about the other day?
Yeah, this is what we were talking about the other day. I was telling you about it the other day. But yeah, and it's also medicinal. So, different species of the sensitive plant get made into very psychoactive drugs. And the species that I love, which is the sensitive one, that a lot of people know, if they do know it, the leaves can be made into a tea, and they actually have a nervine effect. So they act on your nerves, I think. Fact check me for that too, but I'm pretty sure it helps with anxiety. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's really, really medicinal group, and it's just so cool. And the flowers are so pretty. Yeah.
What's the number one mistake people make when taking care of their indoor or outdoor plants?
Overwatering. I feel like people love their plants so much that they're like, water, more water, more water. Stop it, guys. Like, I think you should only water a plant. Like, this is like a hot tip. Only water a plant when the soil is dry, unless you're like having some tropical plant that loves being wet at all times. only water it when the soil's dry. Relax. Relax. Like, let it be completely dry, like bone dry, like the soil can blow away, and then you water. Then you water.
Did not know that one.
Yeah. So not, you'll cause root rot. The roots will just rot.
Mm.
And it'll kill your whole plant. That's the worst thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
So last question from Julia. What plant would you take fashion advice from?
I don't even know. I have to think about that one. But probably a monstera. I don't know. It already patterned its whole leaves. Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about? The monstera deliciosa, that it looks like that and it's all over Instagram.
I think I know what you're
Yeah, you know
talking
exactly
about.
what I'm talking about. We're just assuming you know, but you know. Yeah, I would say that. I don't know. It has such a cute little trendy pattern and everybody loves it. Like, damn, just make me like that. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I would say that.
Okay, that's all of our questions in the comments. So let's go to our comment round. First question, what is your favorite memory in nature?
I would say my favorite memory in nature is probably when I was in kindergarten. And they made us like do like a pollinator garden.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember my teacher was like Miss Garcia, and she literally she was like, oh, every student has to bring in a plant that's gonna help with like pollination or something like that. And I remember I brought in like butterfly weed. Yeah, I brought in like butterfly weed, and it's this plant that like when it flowers, it has these clusters of like bright orange flowers, and it literally attracts monarch butterflies.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so it's so cool because when my teacher planted it, right, she ended up planting it like in this little garden, which was whole pollinator garden in my elementary. It literally started attracting butterflies. I was like, what is this? Why am I seeing butterflies? It was so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds really cute.
So cool.
Okay, our next question. If you could be any plant, what would you be and why?
If I could be any plant, I think I'd be a Chinese money plant. Like a Pilea peperomia. Yeah, that's the scientific name. But it's just because those plants, like traditionally, they're meant to like be like cut up. Like you cut them in half and then you put each half in a different pot, and then you have two plants. So yeah, you keep on cutting it when it gets big, and then you share it amongst friends.
Oh,
man,
that's
I'd
nice.
be in everybody's house. Bro. Like what? Like yeah, I'd love to be that. Probably that. Not gonna lie.
That's funny. Okay, next question. Give us your favorite plant or animal fun fact.
I think my favorite plant fun fact is foxglove
Mm-hmm.
that you see everywhere here. That I literally love. I probably told you this fact already. But yeah, you see foxglove all over California, and it's really, really cool. Super beautiful flower. Super beautiful flowers. It's literally the compound in foxglove that makes it defensive. Like herbivores eat it, and they're like, "Ew, I don't want to eat you," and they get like intoxicated and stuff. It's literally like the main derivative in a lot of our cardioglycosides. Like a lot of our cardiac disease medications they use to like restart your heart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when your heart's going too slow, its foundation chemical is from that plant.
Oh.
Yeah, so without like discovering or naming that plant, we wouldn't have a lot of these heart disease medications. So I think that's my favorite plant. Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm glad we found it.
Yeah.
It saved so many lives.
Oh,
Last question. Tell us about your favorite SSI moment so far.
I think my favorite SSI moment so far, it's probably thrifting with you guys.
Oh.
Stop! Like even like several trips. Like I'm not talking about one moment. Like just whenever we've gone thrifting, I love thrifting. Or like just like going shopping. Like I love it. Yeah, I love it. And then I get to see your guys' taste and like what you guys like and stuff. And I'm like, wow, yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. We'll have to go thrifting sometime.
Yeah, we have to. Okay.
Okay, well, that's our last question. Thank you for joining us. Before we end today, we would like to encourage everyone to follow us on social media at CalAcademy_SSI to learn more about science and natural history museums along with us the rest of the summer. Tune in tomorrow for our last interview where we will be interviewing Audrey on her research in community science. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.